We've got to talk about some polling that recently dropped from CNN that kind of puts a damper on the Democrat Party's hopes in these upcoming midterms. Because, of course, the whole narrative, including from some folks on the right, and I've talked about that in past videos, has been that Trump has betrayed everyone and Trump is leading us down this horrible, terrible, no good, very bad war, and it's going to be bad for the Republican Party and Trump's going down. This is the end of the Trump era. Okay? Democrats are about to have a blue wave. I'm sure you guys have heard some of that. And if you haven't, well, I always come with clips, baby. Here's a clip of James Carville saying exactly that. Check it out.
I think that Hakeem's doing a good job. I think he framed it up pretty good. And hey, dude, I got news for you. Hang in there for some more months because come January, you're going to be one powerful dude. I promise you that.
You think he's going to be Speaker Jeffries?
Oh, I don't think there's any. I don't think there's any doubt, and I think it's not even going to be close. No, I don't see anything in particularly after this debacle today. This war was never popular, and the surrender is going to be less popular. I think that
this war was never popular, and the surrender will be even more unpopular. Okay. All right. Once again, that has been the narrative. Everywhere you look, people trying to twist this into, something that is the worst thing ever. Oh my goodness. How dare Trump do this? Well, then CNN came along with Harry Enton and had something interesting to say. Let's take a look at it, shall we? Make sure you guys smack that like button. Check it out.
But so far, there's kind of been a little bit of a collective shrug from the American public. What am I talking about here? Well, let's just take a look here. Americans who say they care a lot about the Iranian situation, look at this. It's just 45%. Just 45% of Americans say they care a lot about the situation going on in Iran. Compare that to the U.S. economy, which, of course, is the number one issue right now in this country. We're talking 84%. That is a very, very high number. And this 45% number, only about half that and below 50%. So despite all the hubbub, right now we're talking about less than a majority of Americans who say they care a lot about what's going on in Iran right now.
But the war in Iran does affect the U.S. economy.
That's going to be the question going forward.
Yes. So going forward, we'll have to see what happens with the war and how it affects gas prices, et cetera, et cetera. So is interest starting to rise, or is it kind of just falling off?
Yeah, this to me, again, just such an interesting number because we have this 45% right here. But take a look at Google searches right now because it just sort of reinforces that point. Americans, Google searches for Iran. Look at this. Down 84% versus February 28th, when, of course, the current war started in Iran. And if you look back on Sunday, you look back yesterday, searches for the Academy Awards significantly higher, are talking about 3-4 times as high as searches for Iran in the United States of America. So at this point, outside of the situation in Iran perhaps affecting the U.S. economy, which, of course, is the number one issue, is what Americans are focusing on, I'm just not thinking that this is necessarily going to be the big political mover and shaker that you might expect, given that this has kind of been a pretty gosh darn big deal, at least globally speaking.
It certainly has. So then taking a look at what's happened with the president and whether his popularity has changed at all, just judging on this, what are you learning?
Yeah, what are we learning? Which is perhaps it's not so much of a surprise when just 45% of Americans say they care a lot about the Iranian situation, that the president's overall approval rating is the same. It's the same. It was 41% before the current war in Iran started, and it is 41% now. So despite, again, all the hubbub, despite all the critics of the president of the United States, what we are seeing right now is a president whose approval rating is steady, and this has not been a big deal politically.
Your ears did not deceive you. Now, I don't agree with the actual numbers in terms of, his approval percentage. 41%, I think, is quite low. As a matter of fact, I believe Rasmussen or one of those more accurate ones had polled that number above 50%. So 40 seems a bit low. 40 seems a bit low, but it is CNN, right? And if CNN is coming out and reporting that most people really don't give a crap about this war, and this whole talk of this going to drown Trump and the Republicans, it's kind of a moot point. I mean, it's null and void. It's false, right? Nobody really cares about it that much. I mean, there are some folks who really, really care, right? And we can see those voices online, of course. But for the most part, the American people are more concerned with the economy. And I talked about this literally the other day. We've all heard the tagline, "It's the economy, stupid," right? That remains true still to this day. And you just heard it there from CNN. It is going to come down to, do people feel like the economy has improved and is improving? And I think they will. I think they will. We have a lot of time still left before the midterms. Yeah, things aren't the greatest at the moment, sure. But I also think that's why this operation was done now versus later on, so we didn't have any hiccups right before the midterms, which is something that you don't want. You want smooth sailing going into the midterms, and that's what I think we will see. Now, I want to show you guys something else, and that is the generic congressional ballot, because something interesting is going on here. Because, of course, in years where the party is in control, going into the midterms, typically that party loses, right? They comfortably lose. That's to be expected. We are expected to lose in the midterms. That's just how it goes. That's just how the cookie crumbles. But something interesting is going on here. I want you guys to take a look at this. Okay? So this is a Harvard Harris poll from just last month, from February. Amongst registered voters, what do you know? It's 50-50. I thought this was going to be a blue wave. James Carville, you just heard him say, oh yeah, Hakeem Jeffries is easily, comfortably going to be the Speaker of the House. He's going to be a very powerful man. Well, this says 50-50. And as we know, it typically swings in the direction of Republicans come the actual day. So this ain't looking too good. Likely voters, it's the same exact number. 50-50. Even split. It's a tie, which doesn't bode well for Democrats. And I know what you guys are thinking. Hey, Rich, that's just one poll. Okay, fair enough, but I got more. Reuters, Ipsos. This is from last month as well. What do you know here? 2 points. 2. That is within the margin of error. 2 points. And we gained 1 while they lost. So we're going in the right direction, according to this one. Rich, that's only 2 polls, man. You can't buy that. All right. Here's another one. RMG. Now, take this one with a grain of salt. We'll see. 2026 congressional ballot, generic congressional ballot. This one has us up by 2, 47-45. Quite interesting. From last month as well, February. All right. Quite interesting. And I've got more. Washington Post, for those that may be skeptical still, has us down by 2 points within striking distance. More than within striking distance. Okay? 2 points on the Washington Post poll there. Here, wait, when was that one? Okay, that was from last month as well. Here's one from this month. For those of you that may be thinking that in your head, well, Rich, those are from last month. What about this month? 2, same number. This is from The Economist, YouGov. 2, 43-41. You seeing a pattern here? Are you seeing the pattern here? Here's a tip poll. Down by 1.3. And recently we gained 1.7 while they only gained 0.1. And obviously you have some undecideds here, not sures. You got 10%. But out of that 10%, if we're gaining them, at the same rate, that's not looking good for Democrats. That ain't looking good. This is within the margin of error, plus or minus 3. This is from last month as well. At the end of last month. You seeing the pattern? You're seeing the pattern. Now, I want to touch on something else here, and that is this. This is why I'm showing you guys all of this, okay? This right here. 2026 versus 2018 generic ballot 1 year before the election per the RCP. In December 2017, Democrats were up nearly 12.9. The final result was actually +8. It's a 4-point swing. That is a 4-point swing in the negative. The average now, or the average back in December 2025, was 4. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? If we get the same kind of swing, which you typically do expect Republicans to do better than what polls typically show, right? And that's what this showed up here. Democrats polled at nearly 13, but came in at 8 because Republicans show up. We don't do a whole lot of talking. We just show up. They were +4 in December. Interesting how that works, isn't it? And a lot of polls now are showing them only +2. So if there's a 4-point swing, well, then that means that we're +2, which means we gain distance on the Democrats. Gain distance in a year where we are supposed to lose. I'm going to end it with this. Don't believe the lies of the mainstream media or, anybody else out here that's crying doom and gloom. Oh my goodness, Republicans are going down. Trump's a traitor. Everybody hates Trump. Everybody's disappointed. Okay. What do you see here? Trump versus Obama versus Bush. Approval rating 60 weeks into their second term. This is what a lot of people aren't really talking about. Trump's approval rating is above Obama's and Bush's. You wouldn't know that, though, based on mainstream media and the way that some of these folks are out here screaming, Bloody Mary. Oh my goodness, this is the end of the Republican Party. This Iran war put the nail in the coffin. And he still has a better approval rating than Obama and Bush. And considering what he's up against, that's pretty darn impressive. We have a mainstream media that is constantly bashing you every single day, and your approval rating is still better than the Democrat Party's messiah, Obama. I think that says a lot about you. I think that says a lot about you, because Obama didn't face a media that was this negative against him. Neither did Bush. No other president has, for that matter. And yet his approval rating is still better than theirs. Interesting. And I'll leave you with that. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Get in those comments. Make sure you smack that like button if you enjoyed the video. I would greatly appreciate it. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.